So your latest project, One Model Nation, you've basically given life to this fictional band through a backstory and several levels of media. How did it come apart? What's the story on this whole thing?
Oh, I guess it just sort of started out as a stoner idea. Hey, I know, what we should do. And then, and that was Donovan and I had come up with the main idea of this, German band that was involved on the same level, on the same kinds of things that in the late 90s hip-hop movies, drugs, guns, cops, music. So somehow we had discovered very quickly in our conversation that we were both, as young teens, really into the German kind of late 70s, early 80s art scene, the Nina Hagen and, Bowie and Iggy being there making records and all the things that Sprockets thought was funny, we didn't think was funny. We thought it was really cool. So, between Noy and Kraftwerk and, just all sorts of things, Nitzer Ebb, and there's all sorts of stuff thrown in there. Gary Newman, came up with the the idea, and then it just seemed like fun, and it never stopped being fun. And then after a while, Donovan then had a kid. He and his wife had a kid, and then so he kind of dropped out. And I sent the script to a friend of mine who's a very famous filmmaker, and pretty much a perfect filmmaker of about any style. And he has not called me back since, and that was like 10 years ago.
All right.
So that's how bad that was. So I just kind of tore it down, took it on as my own sort of jet lag, wide awake, popping up at wide awake at 3 a.m, kind of thing to do, and just made it very serious. I also kind of made a hyperspatial timeline and geography for Germany. So it's not really either Germany, neither east nor west, and it's just sort of whatever I needed of both or either. And personally, Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, Dr. Zhivago, these are my favorite movies. They're just epic. So I needed to have some travel in there and some. So they go to London, they end up in Bavaria, the main guy does, and there's Amsterdam in there, and so there's some travel and some movement. I also condensed the 10 or 12 years of German politic 70s, late 60s history into 3 months.
Right.
And then I have the band disappear. The big picture. I invented a German art noise band that disappeared in 1978, and that was a good idea. So that if this thing caught on, which for some reason it is, I didn't think there'd be that much interest in a fictional German art noise band that disappeared 30 years ago or whatever. But I won't have to. It cannot become another entire job because the band is gone. They can't go on tour.
Right.
So great. And I certainly if the thing got huge, and if a movie comes out and it gets a big sort of funsy people that like these kind of brain teasy sorts of things end up becoming real fans, so that we can sell out Madison Square Garden as our first show, then I'll go on tour, I think.
Sure. And there you go. I mean, it's all in there. It's not the first time, though, by far, I guess, that, there hasn't been the fictional band. And I was trying to think of some of those, or even, kind of band changes the world type of movies. Gorillaz, the latest, and that did take off. I mean, I think Damon Albarn was saying that.
What happened? The Gorillaz have a movie?
Well, not a movie. I'm just saying that was supposed to be one single record.
Right.
And now it's a tour.
Whatever. That's like just a comic thing, right? They don't have stories or anything, right? They're just a
little bios,
band,
right?
That then they had someone draw comic, sort of. What is that stuff? What is that? Is there a name for that style? Little monsters and things.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really cool thing. And do that tour?
That they do tour, but it's just at first I think it was holographic images or just big screens, but now it's just Damon Albarn and whoever else is guesting on the record playing the songs live.
Do they show the creatures or?
Yeah, I think they're all built into screens behind them.
Right. Yeah, that just seems like a kind of like clearly they could get something going a lot quicker than I could, and I think that's probably why our project is actually developed and has depth and has because we couldn't get anything going.
Right.
I was thick into the Dandy Warhols thing, and anyone I described this project to thought it was cute, and I got a little pat on the head and a little slap on the butt, and go have fun. I know, get back there and Dandy Warhol it up. See you in Spain or whatever, Yeah, the Gorillaz thing, I don't know. That's kind of it's a music project that then they sort of had half an idea
right.
for the other part of it. But they really should be making movies and things. I guess they don't care. Is the bottom line is that if I guess they did care to develop it, it would. I mean, they could have the best the world has to offer for writers and.
But I guess even Kiss themselves had the fictional backstory. So on the far other end of the spectrum of something like that.
Mm-hmm. Right, and they did make a movie, that Phantom of the Park.
Is that right? I assume they made one somewhere in my mind. I was told they made one, but I couldn't have went that deep on it. So.
I was probably 10 years old or 8 years old. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I was at the right age to not care that it totally blew. That movie, I was wow, a Kiss movie, cool.
We've all fell victim. You had mentioned, so you picked this post World War II era Germany, which plenty has been written about. To develop this, do you just know all the politics and the history at this point, or did you have to do extra research?
Donovan actually just got into it. I only cared really about the music and the art scene. Mm-hmm. That was my thing. And then Donovan started unearthing all this stuff about the Baader Meinhof gang. And, I mean, if plenty has been written about it, I sure have never seen any of it, or had never seen any of it until Donovan started finding. I had no idea, never heard of it, heard of the Baader Meinhof gang. I didn't know anything about post-war politics in Germany. Except that they were a destitute nation, and I don't know what, and then something, now they're not. But, talk about phenomenally interesting. They were a completely destitute and bankrupt nation after the war, utterly destroyed, and within 25 years they became the richest nation on earth.
Are they?
They were by 1972, 73.
No, I didn't know that.
They decided to not... More or less, and I don't know how accurate any of this stuff is, because frankly I don't care, but they had decided to not import things. Mm-hmm. They just, as a nation, we're going to make things and we're going to sell them to the rest of the world.
Right.
And it's not going to take long, and we're going to be a major superpower again. And so they did, and it worked. Wouldn't it be fun if America did that? That would be so amazingly cool. Get all those factories that are sitting abandoned across the Midwest and the Rust Belt, and just put them to work, and let's make stuff and sell it. Instead of stripping our resources, our natural resources, we just suck them out of the ground and then sell them to the Chinese.
Right.
And then they make them into something, and then we buy them back from the Chinese. And we'll pay for shipping. You can just drop ship that stuff direct. We'll pay for it. It's ridiculous. Sitting on this book is, and making it and kind of looking at how this other thing went down over there was interesting. And it also kind of gives me a perspective of, my mind being blown at how just fat and lazy America is, and, not much foresight or about where we're going and everything. And there's a lot of, Democrat mouthing, blogging, kind of, super lefties, screaming, the end is near, but it's not getting anything done. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. All they're doing is hyping each other up and, and a lot of correcting each other on blog sites. But, it's an interesting thing that it happened, and it sure makes for an amazing setting for an art project,
Sure. And even can it change? Does it take an entire cultural meme at this point to make anything change?
Yeah. I'm just surprised that after, we crushed Germany, how often in history has it happened that somebody goes in, absolutely crushes a nation, and then just leaves them alone?
Yeah.
Obviously, the Russians couldn't do it. They kind of, we're gonna just stay. No, you're not. Oh, we're just gonna stay here. No, you're not. No, you're not. Well, okay, we're just gonna stay here. Oh, okay, you can have there. Build a wall, East Berlin. There you go.
Sure, and that's it.
Russia, part of Russia. Yeah, it was pretty amazing that anybody left that country, Germany, alone. We actually beat the hell out of them, and then rubbed their noses in their little dog do, and then we left.
Yeah, as opposed to now, which we, supposedly win a war, I guess, but then just stay there for another 10 or 15 years.
Oh God, we'd be in there strip mining and pulling out nickel and oil and you name it. We'd have them bent to the nosy grindstone for us. Right. At this point, we're so desperate for Well, I guess, when your government is actually a series of oil companies, war is a little different now.
That's true. It's very, very true. Well, steering us back on path, I guess.
Yeah, get me going. Get me started. And have fun editing.
Are you kidding? Most of this will go up on the web as the unedit. That's the fun. This is the fun stuff. The other stuff you've talked about 1,000 times by this point. So.
I sure have. It's really hard to keep talking about it because it's like, really? Do I even sound like I'm thrilled or about these words in this order anymore? I don't know.
You're holding it together well. You are.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And one of the last things about One Model Nation, was it hard to create music then that was supposed to be from the past?
No, absolutely not at all. We knew in our heads kind of what the job description was. Mm-hmm. We don't want it to sound like it's from the 70s. We wanted it to sound like it could be, or it might be, or questionably would be. The thing is to make it as fresh as it would have sounded then.
Right.
Because if you listen to Kraftwerk or Can now, it doesn't sound that fresh. It sounds like really good, electro. Mm-hmm. And it does. There are telltale signs of its age. So, if I would come downstairs, and we did it in my basement. Made that entire record in my basement studio in Washington. And I'd come downstairs and listen to what was going on, and letting the guys do, pretty much all the work, because I own a studio and I'm in it all the time. So it was a lot more fun for them. Mm-hmm. So I would come down, and if it wasn't sounding old enough or crusty enough, I would just, line up the bicycle frame and the iron chairs and the pots and pans, and I would start clanging on things. And then, okay, there, now it sounds old.
So the Dandies, they hit, you guys had success early on, but it looks like as you've progressed in your own career, maybe it's less important to have that be-all hit that plays everywhere, and especially now with One Model Nation, it seems like it's even more about the art than about... it was just this off-the-cuff project.
Well, you can't sit down and write a hit. Certainly the Dandy Warhols was never about... Well, we wouldn't know how to write a hit. We didn't know what the hell we're doing.
Right.
The Dandy Warhols' prime directive was to make music that we wish somebody else was making, but they're not.
Right.
We just filled in gaps, and that's why we never had any hits. We did not have one hit in America in 12 years or whatever, we were on Capitol Records, major money, the whole bit. We did not have one hit. Every record we put out flopped and then got big a year and a half or 2 years later. So, I don't know I don't know why the Dandies are successful. We're still a band. We still have a career. We still have influence and juice in this world. We tour. We put out records. I guess we just have our own sound, and if you like it, there is no one else that you can go to get it. So once we have people kind of hooked on our, psychically, kind of unique and emotionally, pretty clear and potent trip, there, you're kind of in for life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's how that worked out. And I definitely had a few hits, like in Norway or Greece or Australia,
mm-hmm.
And then a couple big ones in the UK. Those also were failures when they were released, laughed at and patted on the head and a little slap on the bottom and off you go. Yeah. That's cute.
Yeah.
But nobody listens to that kind of music. And then a year and a half later, whoa, re-release, woo, huge hit. And so, hits are accidental in my world.
Right.
I have no control over it. And One Model Nation right now is one of our songs, Transmission or East Berlin, is number 3 on the specialty radio chart in America. Number 3 in the specialty radio. Like, what? I have no idea how this world works. None. But I do know how studios work, and I know how I like music to feel, and that's kind of the way you should work. You know how you want it to feel, and then how you get there is nobody's business at all.
Mm-hmm.
You just start going, and if it doesn't feel like, and you keep working and carving and pulling this out and add this instead, and layer this and move that out to the side, and turn that part up, and then take a break, come back, and go, God, that feels exactly like I want it. That feels great. And that's generally how I have always made music, because how else do you know when it's done?
Well, now that you've done this multimedia project with One Model Nation, is it changing the way that you're making the next Dandies record?
Oh, no, I don't think so. Maybe I'm just tired of electronic stuff. The Dandies record that's going to come out in a few months is we just finished last week, final mastering done. And I don't think it has any keyboards on it.
Okay.
It is all guitar. It's a rock record, and then kind of slides somewhere into sort of shoegazy gothicness, maybe. I'm being told it's our darkest record a lot, and I like that.
You always have to hear it from other people.
Yeah, that's why I never ask bands when, someone at a party or someone goes, oh, you should hear his band, it's amazing. Oh, really? Dude, what's your band called, Sum 41 or whatever. No.
Right.
But, we're called, Dinosaur Senior or whatever. I never ask them what they sound like. I always ask them, what do people tell you sound like?
Right.
Because otherwise you'll get Sum 41 going, well, we're kind of like The Clash, but do you remember Sum 41? Does anybody remember Sum 41?
I remember them. Yes, I do.
Yeah, they were fun. I don't really listen to modern music. I listen to Renaissance music. That's kind of in my house, what I listen to. I also have a medieval style house, so it really is quite perfect to have.
I don't think that's what I would have imagined at all, but...
Yeah.
The way you talk about music and everything, it keeps bringing me around to, because you've just released more info on the new record and everything called This Machine. You've been through the machine. And the machine of
different
music.
Kinds of machines.
Sure, but the machine of music, for whatever it's been in the last 30 years, apparently there's always been a machine of music for hundreds and hundreds of years. I might guess that your title has nothing to do with that, though.
Oh, when the title came up, it was the machine of the 4 people in the Dandy Warhols. It was the machine of the nature creature of nature, and it just, that phrase just really nailed it in so many ways. So I can't even remember what,
actual reason.
What the first connection from the phrase to my or our lives was.
Are you guys happy to still be going indie at this point?
Well, we did a really, really bad job of having our own record label last time. And not only was it no fun, but we sucked at it.
Yeah.
So,
I've heard that from other people. They say the same thing. It's like, it's a good idea when you try it. It's always a good idea in theory, I guess. But, in practice, it's a bit harder.
Yeah, it turns out we like to make music. We don't like to make emails.
Yeah.
We don't love that nearly as much as we like to make cool guitar parts, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, the Dandies, we're going to try the kind of the halfway in between. We've got a small label in New York that's part of this group called Sony Red Music, and
I know them.
they're the ones who put out Phoenix whatever a year or two ago, and had some great success with that. They're a coalition of independent labels.
They're good people. I know them personally. They're good people.
Oh, great!
Yeah.
God, I'm glad to hear that because I really like them.
Yeah.
The most unpretentious, real music-loving people. They're really into it. I think they have very good taste, and at the end of the day, you never know if you're going to have success or not. So you better just have a good time and like the people you work with, and so you can kind of sit around like the last of the Vikings, just going, well, I guess it's not really working out anymore. That was fun. Good job, you guys, Or if you have great success, then you get to hang out with these people you like even more until the success does run out. Then you sit around the campfire and your broken arm and your bloody nose, and you go, damn it. Well, it was fun for a while, you guys. Good job, Vikings.
Well, Courtney, thanks so much for still liking what you do and continuing to do it.
Yeah, we got that one figured out. We never really tried anything else.
Yeah, well, it's
wait, no. I must amend that.
Okay.
I just wrote a song for Twilight that wanted a submission from the Dandies. So, so I wrote a song that has nothing to do with me or my feelings. And it's interesting. It's a liberating experience.